Big news today from Flyers practice. Travis Konecny is back. Sort of. I'm Charlie O'Connor for PHLY Sports here with my Flyers post-practice updates. Tonight, the Flyers play the St. Louis Blues at 7 p.m. at Wells Fargo Center before heading out on a Florida road trip, which will coincide with, of course, the trade deadline on Friday. That's obviously where most of the discussion and speculation is right now, but the games still matter. The Flyers are still holding on to that third spot in the Metropolitan Division. Not a great week for the other teams in the Metro. The Devils and the Penguins both fell flat on their face. So the Flyers still have a decent cushion, but this is their last game against a not super high-end team for a while. They do have one game in the next 10 after this game against the San Jose Sharks, which should be a win. But beyond that, 9 games against really good Eastern Conference foes. This game against the Blues, not an easy one. The Blues aren't a pushover, but it's a game the Flyers kind of have to win in order to maximize the amount of points they have going into this really difficult stretch. But getting back to what I saw today in practice, Travis Konecny literally just left the ice. It's around 11:30 right now. Konecny did a lot of post-practice work. Travis Konecny has been out with that upper body injury. Most likely looks to be some sort of oblique injury, maybe. Looks like he pulled a muscle, in his core area. He's missed quite a few games. The Flyers have certainly missed him, missed his energy, his high-end skill, his ability to change a game at any time. Well, it does look like Travis Konecny is on the road back. John Tortorella did tell us before the start of practice that Travis Konecny would not be playing tonight, so don't expect to see Travis Konecny in the lineup against the Blues. However, when we spoke with Daniel Briere on Friday in Washington, he said that they were realistically shooting for a Thursday return for Travis Konecny against the Florida Panthers. Today, Travis Konecny looks like he's adhering to that timeline. He came out today with the rest of his team wearing the yellow non-contact jersey. He didn't participate, I would say, in full. He wasn't participating in all the drills, but he did do some PK work, and he did do a lot of work after practice skating. Looked quick. Maybe his stride wasn't perfect, but he certainly doesn't look too worse for the wear. And this does potentially set him up for that Thursday return. I would very much expect, as long as he doesn't have a setback in the next couple of days, very much expect him to go on the trip to Sunrise and then to Tampa. And the hope would be he can get in at least one of those games, if not both. So really good sign there that Travis Konecny did make his return to practice. As for the upcoming game tonight, Sam Ersson unsurprisingly gets the start in goal. He is the Flyers' clear-cut number 1 starter, so no shock that he gets the nod. Felix Sandstrom, though, had a pretty strong game last game against the Ottawa Senators on Saturday. Played pretty well, not dominant, but played certainly much better than Cal Peterson did on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I asked John Tortorella, given the fact the trade deadline is looming, given the fact there has been some rumors, Elliot Friedman reported this morning that Flyers haven't ruled out the possibility of maybe tossing a late-round pick to someone for a backup goalie option the rest of the year, especially given the way Cal Peterson struggled in his audition as backup. John Tortorella said, look, Felix Sandstrom has earned himself another start. So it doesn't necessarily mean they won't go out and trade a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick for a backup goalie on an expiring contract, but it does seem like they were pretty satisfied with Sandstrom's play on Saturday, and at the very least, he's earned himself another look. We'll see if they hold to that, because they don't have to play Sandstrom in any of these games before the deadline. They're certainly not playing him tonight. I would strongly expect they're not going to play him on Thursday against a high-powered team like the Florida Panthers. They'll go with Ersson. And then the Flyers, if they made a trade for a goalie, maybe Sandstrom does never get another start. But at the very least, John Tortorella made it clear that Sandstrom has earned himself another start. We'll see if he gets it. As for the rest of the lineup, doesn't look like there's any real changes. They didn't run defense pairings in the traditional way. So I guess it's theoretically possible that Ronnie Adder, who has been sitting for the last couple of games after being called up, it's theoretically possible he could play. My guess is that he'll sit again. I still think he's up here mostly as insurance in case they trade someone like Sean Walker or someone like Nick Seeler, and they're allowing him to be acclimated to the Flyers so that if he has to slide into the lineup after a trade, they're not just calling him up and throwing him into the fire right away. But we'll see if possibly they do give Adder this game. Maybe they go 11-7. The one change that very well could be made, when they ran lines, Ollie Luxell was in that line with Sean Couturier and Bobby Brink, that nominally 4th line. He was in the first rep. Now, Nick Delorier did come in and replace him. They rotated. But it is possible, given the fact that the Blues aren't exactly a heavyweight team, that maybe the Flyers would bring Lexell back in the lineup after he sat on Saturday, after his benching in the third period along with Bobby Brink on Friday against the Washington Capitals. Maybe Lexell comes back in, and if so, it would be technically a fourth line, but going Lexell, Couturier, Brink, that line has enough skill where if they're playing well and if they're getting good shifts in the first period, you could justify moving them up the lineup and potentially using them as a second line, a third line, heck, even a first line if they really have some jump. Delorier was the big thing that's holding that line back. Like, Nick Delorier, he plays hard. He's obviously physical. He obviously is one of the most intimidating fighters in the league. He's kind of an offensive black hole. And if you stick him with Sean Couturier most likely isn't going to score points. You give Sean Couturier Ole Lexell, a guy who's scored a lot in the minors, and Bobby Brink, a guy who's scored a decent amount at the NHL level too, maybe that line could actually potentially produce some points. So we'll see if that's the line they go with or if they stick with Delorier in the lineup. But if Lexell comes in for Delorier, just gives that Couturier line a little bit more offensive upside. And then it's just up to them to get the job done. That's pretty much all I've got from practice today in Voorhees. It will be the return of Kevin Hayes tonight. Kevin Hayes apparently just finishing up morning skate over at the Wells Fargo Center. I wasn't able to be in two places at once, so unable to interview him, unfortunately. But it will be Kevin Hayes' return to Philadelphia tonight. The Flyers, however, just need to be focused on getting another 2 points just before they launch into this gauntlet of a schedule for the next couple weeks in March. I'm Charlie O'Connor of PHLY Sports. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.